Adams County, Pennsylvania. A land rich with history, culture, and the human spirit. Drawn together by a common heritage. Our heritage. Dinosaurs, the creatures which fill our imaginations, spark our interests, and keep scientists pondering, roamed the Earth over 65 million years ago. And although we have never laid our eyes upon a real live dinosaur, we have a pretty good idea as to how they looked based on the remains they left behind. Their bones, as well as their tracks and other traces, have survived until this day, fossilized within the Earth's crust. With the remains that are uncovered, scientists can blueprint dinosaurs and bring them to illustrated life. But even with all the technology that we have today, we still know very little about a species that existed for more than 130 million years. So how then can we find out more about these magnificent creatures? The answer? Time travel. Or the more practical, fossils, fossils, and more fossils. Surprisingly, many of these dinosaur fossils have not yet been discovered. When we think of dinosaur fossils, we often think of the American West, China, or some other exotic place. But what many people don't know is that the East Coast is also a very high find area when it comes to finding fossilized dinosaur remains. In fact, paleontologists refer to the area which runs parallel with Interstate 95 in Maryland as Dinosaur Alley due to its high content of dinosaur fossils. Paleontologists have been working in the Maryland, Pennsylvania, and Virginia area for many years and have been uncovering some wonderful finds, including Capitalsaurus, a carnivore located in the Washington, D.C. area, and Astrodon johnstoni, a long-neck herbivore which has become Maryland's state dinosaur. As Adams County residents, we were interested in the prospect of discovering our own fossils in the local area. Our first stop was to a paleontologist who had already spent many years searching the East Coast for dinosaurs, Dr. Peter Kranz.
My particular background is I have an undergraduate degree in geology from Franklin and Marshall College and a PhD from the University of Chicago from the Department of Geophysical Sciences. I have a basically geology background. Okay, anybody that wants to be a paleontologist becomes a paleontologist by definition. That is to say, nobody gets a degree that says paleontologist on it. What they do is they either study geology, as in my case, or many of the people who work on dinosaurs study vertebrate anatomy and often have jobs teaching in anatomy departments, teaching in medical schools, or other paleontologists get background in biology or some area of that nature. But fundamentally, they could have a degree in music or art or, you know, basket weaving. It doesn't make any difference. It matters what they do. I did not start out to work on dinosaurs. I started out working on what we call taphonomy, or how fossils get formed. Okay. And that's still my primary interest. But I began working on dinosaurs primarily because the public at large is interested in dinosaurs, and it's a way as a teacher to get people interested in science and interested in that. As I like to say, my PhD thesis was on clams, and when I say to people, I'm going out to look for clams, they say, bye, have a nice time. And if I say I'm going out to look for dinosaurs, they say, oh, could I come? Yeah, large. So basically that's the deal.
You were talking about Dinosaur Alley. Could you describe a little bit about what the geography would have looked like around here, the landscape?
Okay, well, there are two basic things. Here in the Emmetsburg area in southern Pennsylvania, this was a large valley with mountains bordering it on the west, and it was basically a large string of lakes that ran all the way from Nova Scotia to Florida. The climate was probably, at least in this area, sort of temperate, or possibly even a little warmer than that, possibly seasonal. We know at that time there were glaciers and ice caps and other things on the poles, by the time you get to Dinosaur Alley time of 100 million years ago, what you're looking at is a coastal plain on the shores of the Atlantic Ocean, which is formed by that time. It's warm, subtropical. I wish it were warm and subtropical today. It's warm and subtropical in the sense that it would be very similar to southern Louisiana today, that kind of an environment.
And what type of vegetation was around? Was it your tall trees like you had?
Mostly the primary kinds of trees that were around at that time are pines, conifers, cypress, and also cycads. Not many flowering plants. Capitalosaurus was a meat-eating dinosaur, presumed ancestor of Tyrannosaurus rex. It was a tyrannosaur, was about 30 feet long, weighed about 2.5 tons, and lived about 100 million years ago in the Maryland and District region. In Gettysburg, the dinosaurs that you find are about 200 million years old. It's very early in the age of the dinosaurs. Most of the dinosaurs are extremely primitive. That is to say, they haven't developed the specializations of the many later dinosaurs. Okay. For example, the horned dinosaurs, which are much later, have all fancy frills and stuff like that. These dinosaurs will look pretty simple. That is to say, they'd have a long tail and maybe 3 toes on their feet, and some of them would have been quite small, maybe 2 or 3 feet long, and others could have been large, up to approximately 30-40 feet long. But all of them look pretty simple. Long tails, sometimes a long neck, or maybe not such a long neck, and sort of a very unadorned kind of face, just pretty simple and straightforward.
Would they walk on all 4, or
some of them walked? Some of them walked on all 4s. Many of them walked on 2 legs. As far as we know, virtually every meat-eating dinosaur that we know of was 2-legged. On the other hand, many of the plant-eating dinosaurs were 4-legged, but some were 2-legged.
Interesting. Now, could we find a Capitalosaurus? Is it possible to find it in the Gettysburg area?
No.
That would not fit the...
No. The large meat-eating dinosaur that lived at the time in Gettysburg is called Dilophosaurus. If you saw the movie Jurassic Park, the spitting dinosaur at the end, although we don't think Dilophosaurus spit, but the spitting dinosaur at the end of the movie, a dinosaur about 3 times that size, but looking essentially like that, is what would have been the large meat eater in the area at that time. And those footprints we find their footprints.
You do?
And also bones from them are found occasionally. Although in Pennsylvania, the only known bones are 2 small teeth of a small plant-eating dinosaur. Teeth are about 1/4 inch long. It doesn't matter where they go. What they need is exposed rock. Okay, and that could be at a construction site. It could be in a farmer's field. It could be the foundation of a house. It could be in a stream bed. It doesn't matter. All they need is exposed rock. The critical thing is to be in the right area. Okay. And the right area is basically where you see the red sandstones and the red shales. Okay. And in the case of the Gettysburg area, that's virtually the whole area, anywhere in the vicinity of Gettysburg. For example, as you mentioned earlier, there's a possibility that there are dinosaur tracks that are actually on the Gettysburg battlefield, and there are certainly tracks that have been found in the region of Gettysburg. But it would look very similar. It'd be red stones are the key thing that you'd be looking for.
And can you mention about the light again? What's the good light?
The best time to look for these things is either in the winter time when the sun is generally low in the sky, or in the summer time or other times of year when the sun is low in the sky, either early in the morning or late in the evening, because of the fact that the low angle light highlights the surface features. In the bright day, you can't see the tracks very well because they get washed out by the sunlight.
And before we end the interview, would you mind giving a plug to your website and your foundation?
Yeah.
People like to do the research?
Dinosaur Fund is an organization whose primary objectives are education about and research on the dinosaurs of the National Capital Region, which is defined as basically the area around the National Capital, which would be Northern Virginia, Maryland, and the District of Columbia, but also including Delaware and southern parts of Pennsylvania. You can get onto our website either by searching the heading Dinosaurs and Maryland, or the name Astrodon will get you there, which is the name of the state dinosaur of Maryland, and possibly the word Capitalosaurus will get you there.
Did you know there is an actual dinosaur footprint on the Gettysburg battlefield? If you wish to visit this amazing historical relic, it can be found on a bridge wall leading to Little Round Top. For directions or more information, go to the Gettysburg Battlefield Visitor Center and ask to speak with a park ranger there.
No shortage of dinosaur bones, there is no shortage of fossils. The shortage is people who know about them and who are interested in looking, which is why we run these kind of field trips. The second thing is any paleontologist who knows the truth knows that 90 to 95% of the fossils or the original locations where the fossils are found by ordinary people who are aware that there are fossils. Dinosaurs come in pieces, and mostly what we find are pieces. Very rarely do you find a skeleton that's all in one piece, okay? Very, very rare. Mostly you find fragments. Now, the bone material that you see here almost exclusively comes from the belt of Dinosaur Alley, that is to say between Baltimore and Washington, where we'll be visiting later today. Up here in Emmitsburg and northern Frederick County, western Carroll County, there is very little bone material that's found, basically because the conditions are not conducive to preserving it. In all of the dinosaur beds of Pennsylvania, and the people in Pennsylvania, we're working with them right now to get a state dinosaur there, there is only 2 teeth about 1/4 inch long that are known in terms of skeletal material from dinosaurs. Everything else is tracks. These are about 2 to 3 inches long, the tracks that you can see. And the other feature that some of you have probably noted if you haven't seen them before, they are not this thing here, but they are these things that are raised up off of the stone. The reason is that unlike us, where we're used to, where you walk along the beach and the tracks are pressed down, the only way the tracks can be preserved is if they're covered by another layer of mud. And what happens is this is what we call a natural cast. The mud that came in on top of the tracks filled in the tracks, and when we peeled the stone off, this is essentially upside down, and what you're seeing is the mud that filled the tracks. Okay, this is not the ideal material for looking in things, and so most of these pieces are not worth looking at because they're obviously broken fragments. The other thing you'll notice is that some of the stones are a darker color. Although this was shale and sandstone, there are also volcanic rocks that have come in here that have heated things up and changed the color. So sometimes the colors change from red to other colors, but mostly it's red. What you want to look for is something where you can see that kind of a crack pattern on it. Mud cracks are the key. What you want to look for is mud cracks. The reason is mud cracks tell you that this area was once a muddy area that dried out. That means something could have walked on it. If you don't find the mud cracks, then the chances are that it was either buried too quickly, it didn't dry out. Chances of finding tracks are relatively small. You don't want a stone like this, which is totally irregular and there's no obvious surface on it. So the shape of the stone isn't what's important, the color of the stone isn't what's important. What's important is looking for those mud cracks.
Anyways, if you're actually looking for dinosaurs or dinosaur remains, you should try to locate a rock similar to this where you can actually see it's a chip, it's a sheared off place, a shard of rock, usually flat, and you can still see the mud grain. So we actually know this was a mud field at one time and possibly that a dinosaur track could be located in it. Check out this here. It's interesting.
A little ridge there.
something that looks very irregular.
Hi, I'm Mrs. Maitland. I teach first grade at St. Francis Xavier School in Gettysburg. And what we are trying to do is get a state dinosaur for the state of Pennsylvania, and that dinosaur is a Atreopus. All right. We were talking about dinosaurs for a while. Remember when we talked about if the dinosaurs came back? Yeah. Tell me, what was something that you remember about that story? What was something you remembered, Michael?
They thought if the dinosaurs came back, they could like mow the lawn, and you wouldn't have to use lawnmowers.
Right, exactly. They could mow the lawn and use them as lawnmowers, right? But we know that really, could we do that with dinosaurs? No, exactly. Now we talked about Atreopus. In fact, that's what we're so excited about, right? Atreopus is the dinosaur that we wanted for the state of Pennsylvania. What did we learn? Did we find any bones with Atreopus? Right.
They found teeth and legs and
little claws, right?
little claws and his body.
Oh, well, we didn't find the body. What did we find? Just what was left? What was left, Amanda? Footprints. Very good. The tracks. And of course, that was so long ago, right? So those tracks, they would have been, what were they now? When we find them now, at this point, what are they called, Andrew? Fossils. Very good. They're called fossils. How do you guys feel about having Atreopus as our state dinosaur? How do you feel about that, Joanna?
I feel like it's a big honor because it's not like everybody gets to do this, and we're lucky enough to be able to do this because it's just a big honor.
Exactly. You feel really good about this. Emma, how do you feel?
I feel good because we're the only ones and not all the classes are doing it.
And do you think this is going to help other children? You know, if we get this state dinosaur, how's that going to help other first graders or other fifth graders? How's that going to help everyone? Allison?
They can learn about it and they can think it's really interesting.
Exactly. Very good. Danny, you want to add something?
And if we think of our own state dinosaur, another kid from another class from another state could do the same thing.
Right, and that's how we learned, isn't it? Didn't we go to Mount St. Mary's College and we learned that the state of Maryland has a state dinosaur, but Pennsylvania doesn't? And that's what motivated us, right? Exactly. What does a Atreopus look like? Does anyone remember what a Atreopus looked like? MJ?
It's like the size of a chicken.
Exactly. And was it a plant eater or a meat eater, Marissa?
A plant eater.
A plant eater. Very good. Excellent. Chase, do you want to add something?
My favorite is this dinosaur, the three-horn.
A three-horn. Okay.
It eats a lot.
All right. Anybody else want to add anything? Brian, what do you want to add about dinosaurs?
My favorite one is a long neck.
A long neck. Why?
Just because the neck.
Oh, you like that?
Way up to the trees.
All right. The Triceratops.
What did it look like?
It looked like a three-horn with three big horns.
Okay. Was that a meat eater or a plant eater? Was that Courtney?
Meat eater.
A meat eater. Do you remember the name for what a meat eater is? We talked about two words. Herbivore, carnivore. Which one is the meat eater? Dalton? Which one's the meat eater?
Carnivore.
Very good, the carnivore. Chase, you want to add something else, sweetie? I can't find
What
it.
if the dinosaurs came back? Would they smush the whole town?
What do you think? Do you think they would?
I think.
What's your favorite kind of dinosaur?
T-Rex. Triceratops.
How come?
Because it eats other dinosaurs. Because it kind of has three horns on its head for protection. And it can be Tyrannosaurus Rex.
Tell me about these pictures you drew. Which picture is yours?
This one.
That one? What's it a picture of?
Triceratops.
Triceratops? What's going on in your picture? I see a T-Rex there.
It's blowing fire at this one, and this one's trying to eat the T-Rex.
Have you ever seen any dinosaur bones? Gone to any museums?
I see lots of bones of dinosaurs.
Yeah? That's cool. What'd you think of them?
It was really cool. One time with my aunt.
What'd you think of them?
They were amazing.
Were they big?
Some were big and some were small.
How big was the biggest one you saw?
Like this big.
What did you learn here in class about dinosaurs?
That there's all sorts of kinds of dinosaurs. And the dinosaur bones are called fossils. That dinosaurs are extinct, but we're trying to get one for this state.
Are we? Which dinosaur is that?
Triopus.
Well, I've talked to my children about dinosaurs. We've read a book, If the Dinosaurs Came Back, and there's a lot of interest with the children with dinosaurs. It's a very useful teaching tool. It gets them interested in reading, and it's a subject that they really like. And we went to Mount St. Mary's College to look at an exhibit that they had on dinosaurs. And we found out that Maryland has a state dinosaur, but Pennsylvania does not. And we think that's wrong. We think we should have one as well, and my kids have decided that this is something that they want to pursue.
So there's a lot of enthusiasm?
Absolutely. They're very excited about this. They understand it's a long process, but they're thrilled that they're making history by even trying to get this to happen. They're really into how the dinosaurs survived and how they lived during that time, how they fought with each other, survival of the fittest. That seems to really appeal to them, and their size, how enormous they were. Well, my husband is in the process of drafting a bill to have Atreopus recognized as the state dinosaur. At this point, he said that anyone that is interested in this should go to their state legislator in their county, Pennsylvania, or their senators, and contact them and tell them that they're very interested in supporting this cause to have a state dinosaur.
All right. Could you tell us a little bit about Atreopus?
Okay. The children and I are still learning a lot about this. Dr. Peter Kranz has informed us a lot. He is a paleontologist from Mount St. Mary's College, and he has basically helped us. But Atreopus was one of the smaller dinosaurs, about the size of a chicken. And that it's a little bit disappointing to the children that he's smaller when they're into the T-Rex and various larger dinosaurs. But nonetheless, they're thrilled that this smaller dinosaur roamed throughout the state of Pennsylvania. Now, I have found that there are no bones to be found in Pennsylvania, but numerous tracks all over the state of Pennsylvania, pretty much proving that this was the dinosaur that roamed in this area. They have found, I believe, a claw and some teeth, but that's about it. And it was a plant eater.
All right. Is there anything else you'd like to say about dinosaurs or your class or anything in general?
Well, I think that I'm just very honored that this is something that we're able to at least attempt to do. I hope that we're successful in this because I do truly believe that this is an important endeavor. I think that the children, this is something that will last long term, not just for my class, but for classes to come and for any age level, any grade. This is a great teaching tool for teachers, and this, I just say support this, this is something that we need to get into. It can really increase the awareness of the students, both about dinosaurs and just, it's a great teaching tool.